This skill is brought to you by SimpliSafe, because there's no safe like SimpliSafe. Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to Skill Tree, where we learn how to do just about everything. Now, I've made it no secret that I'm a big old D&D nerd. And on this show in the past, I've really liked taking things out of the game and making them real. Now, in D&D, my favorite class to play is obviously a rogue, so I thought it would be really fun to bring in the basic tools of the trade, i.e. the thieves tool, into the real world. But because this is for the real-life rogue that is me, I wanted to add an extra layer of just a little more sneakiness to it. So I've decided to not only either put together or make all the tools that are listed as thieves tools, but I also wanted to find a way to incorporate them into a pair of bracers, kind of a hidden in plain sight type of thing. I figured it was a fun little challenge for us to get into, so without much further ado, let's jump right into it and level up this skill. So the handbook for 5e says that thieves tool consists of a small file, a set of lockpicks, a small mirror that's mounted on a little metal pole, narrow bladed scissors, and a pair of pliers. With these tools, you can not only break and enter, but you can also disarm any traps you might come across. So jumping right into it, I decided to start with the hardest tools first, the lockpicks. Because I did this project last minute, so I didn't buy anything. So anything I don't have, I have to make. So to make these, I started out with some hacksaw blades that I had lying around. These are made out of tool steel and could hold up to a bit of abuse. Now to get the actual pick shape out of these pieces of metal, I downloaded these templates from the artoflockpicking.com. I'll leave a link to them in the description, but they're super useful and have a huge variety of picks to choose from. Okay, so one easy way to get these images onto the metal so that you can use it as a template is to just cut out the picks that you want from the paper. Then apply a little spray adhesive to the backs of them and stick them right onto the metal. From there, you can just kind of cut or grind around them using that paper as your template. But I have a Cricut cutter and some spare vinyl, so I decided that I just cut it with my Cricut cutter. This way I can unstick them from their paper back and stick them directly onto the metal of the hacksaw blade. Once I had these in place, I used my Dremel with a cutoff wheel just to cut these down to size and remove all that excess metal I don't need. Now, since the metal will heat up quite a bit when I'm grinding or cutting away, I was afraid that vinyl would start to melt. So instead, I just lay them all out and then hit everything with this gray primer spray paint. Once dry, I was able to remove that vinyl, leaving a perfect imprint of my pick. Okay, for this next pick here in shaping the metal. This is definitely a do as I say, not as I do moment. I just ended up clamping my angle grinder onto my bench clamp and locking it in the on position. Things like that are why my shirt is ripped. Right here, right where all of my internal organs live. But using a cutoff wheel, I was able to get rid of large chunks of excess metal really easily, and then just grind everything into shape. I was really pleased with how much detail I was able to get with this super dangerous setup, but yeah, again, I would highly recommend against doing it that way. Just get yourself a bench grinder, they're pretty cheap. I also took this little cutoff piece here and stuck it in my clamp so that I could twist one end of it. Then I bent that end down at a 90-degree angle. This gives me a perfect little tension wrench that I would need to pick locks with. For one final touch, I used some acetone on a dauber just to get rid of any leftover paint from when it used to be a hacksaw. And bam! Check out how sweet those look. Those are some professional looking lockpicks. And it was super easy to do. So I've gone through a few of these roguish type skills before, like how to pick locks with a paper clip and all that, and I'm continually surprised and a little concerned at just how easy it is to learn this stuff. Luckily, with today's sponsor, SimpliSafe, you can rest at ease knowing that your home is protected because there's no safe like SimpliSafe. You like that? That's a segue. But SimpliSafe is actually a really cool security system. It basically lets you customize it as much as you like by making it easy to add on all these different features like cameras, motion sensors. Heck, there's even like a water sensor to warn you of flooding before it gets too out of control. You just select what you need from the website and everything's shipped right to your door. No need for like any service appointment or anything. It's really easy. And even easier is the setup of it.
Siren added.
Like there's no hard wiring anywhere. You just kind of stick anything where you want it and it all operates via Wi-Fi. And in no time, your sad little unprotected target for rogues and ne'er-do-wells becomes the Fort Knox of the neighborhood. I got my system here to, yes, protect my treasures, but mostly to watch this little guy while I'm out on adventures. Look at him. He's just so cute. With SimpliSafe, not only can I help him stand vigil to protect the house from the tyranny of the squirrels, but I can also check in on him when I'm away, and even catch touching moments like our relaxing midday walks. Or our 5 a.m. wanders. That's me less than half awake at 5 a.m., wearing a poncho and rain boots, in case you needed that visual in your head. If you're interested in Act Now, you can save up to 40% on SimpliSafe's biggest sale of the year. Just visit simplysafe.com/skilltree to customize yours and keep all of your precious things and people safe. Alright, so far we have our lockpicks checked off of our list of roguery. The next one I want to tackle was that mirror that was on like a metal handle. In the game, I usually use this to kind of like peek around corners or signal someone from a distance. That said, I was worried that I wouldn't be able to find something like small and reflective enough that it will fit inside of a bracer. Luckily, I was able to dig up this little makeup clamshell that I got for doing a Halloween episode that has a perfect size little mirror in there. So after very carefully ripping this sucker apart, I was left with this great mirror that's actually made out of plastic, which is just sweet. Don't nobody want like broken shards of glass around your wrist area. Probably won't be good in the middle of a battle. Now, to add a little bit of extra strength and of course the functionality that I'm looking for, I just used the mirror as a template to make a circle out of some leather, which I then cut out with some scissors. I also cut out this little strip here that's gonna help me be able to mount this thing when I need it. By using some rapid rivets, I was able to lock that strip into place, now giving me a little space that I can send like one of my picks through to achieve that mirror on a metal rod kind of mount. Next, I smeared some contact adhesive to the back of my mirror as well as on that little leather disc. Then just locked them together once the glue had cured. And look at that cute little friggin' mirror. Now the rest of the thieves tools I actually just happen to have lying around. These little scissors are from a beard grooming kit. This crazy little Swiss Army knife I have came with a pair of pliers attached that I was able to cut away with my Dremel. Finally, I had this little file just in my toolkit. It not only helped me disarm traps and get out of prison, but will also act as the metal rod for my mirror. It's all coming together now. Okay, so with our ne'er-do-well little shopping list all done, it's time to actually make the bracers that are gonna house everything. This is really familiar ground for us to tread. I think I've made bracers like 3 or 4 times on this channel so far. But if you want more detail on how to make the actual template for your bracer or measure it out so it's perfect to you, check out this episode right here. I just so happen to still have a template I made while doing one of those episodes. So I'm gonna be using that because I really like the shape of it and just how it fits. Using it, I cut some chrome tan leather to shape. These are gonna act as my underlayer, which will house my tools. Alright, so first things first, I lay one of the bracers out on the table and position my tools where I think they're gonna fit best. To make them stay, I cut out this little tiny pocket shape here, which will hold my picks into position. Also in that little pocket, I punched these 2 holes just so I had a nice spot to keep my tension wrench. Alright, so that's all good. It's like a little pocket, but I didn't want to worry about like whenever I put my arm down or hold them to the sides or whatever, that things are gonna fall out of the top. So to get around that, I also cut out this little tab here that'll just act as a flap, keeping the picks where I want them. The other arm's bracer is a little bit more involved just because of the different shapes of all those tools. I made the pocket at the bottom just like I did for the picks, but then I also added these little keeper straps to stop the scissors and wrench from moving around, and also gave them little flaps so they don't fall out of the top either. Now that I know where everything's gonna land, I busted out some of this Tanner's Bond tape, adding it along all of the edges where I'm gonna sew. That way I can keep it all together right where it needs to be while I work. Then it was off to my sewing machine just to lock it all into place. Now, I got a lot of crap when I got this $100 sewing machine from Amazon. A lot of people in the comment section calling it junk, but I don't care. This thing continues to impress me. I've thrown a bunch of projects at it at this point, and it just devours everything I put at it. It has saved me a crazy amount of time. If you want to know more about it, check out this episode here. As you can see, it does a phenomenal job. Now my picks are secured into position, and all the rest of my tools are locked right into place where I want them. Cool, that looks great and all, but it's not very secret at this point. I just have thieves tools all over my arm, like some kind of a thieving artificer. We definitely need another layer just to cover over and hide all of those things. So using the same template, I cut out more bracer shapes out of some 9-ounce veg tan leather. This is gonna work as an outer shell, just hiding everything. One thing to note though is that outer shell area, whatever you're gonna use for that, and the inner side can't be the same size. The reason being, when you curl it up, whichever one's on the inside is gonna stick out a little bit longer. This is just because the inside one has to cover less ground, right? It's just covering the shape of your arm, where that outside one is covering the shape of your arm and that extra layer, so it's gonna come up a little bit shorter. I just marked how much extra was sticking out and then cut it away with a pair of scissors. It might look like it's really short, but everything fits exactly as it should when the bracer is worn now. Confident that everything's gonna fit together how I wanted it, I started prettying everything up by beveling the edges. Then I moistened my leather just to prepare it for tooling. This is called casing the leather, by the way. I've been saying moisten it forever. I've never known it was called casing. It's called casing. We learned together. Now for this, I wanted to go for a really simple but kind of cool looking design I've seen. Basically, it's gonna have kind of a quilted, almost gambeson look. So I started by using my wing divider to just mark out a good frame all around the edges. Next, I laid my ruler within that space at an angle and traced either side of it with my awl. Then I just moved the ruler over, lining it up with the previous mark so that I can draw another line next to it. I continued doing this until I reached the end of that inside of my frame area. Then I put the ruler at the opposite angle and did the same thing, tracing it in with my awl as well. Doing this gives me these really pretty elongated diamond patterns, reminiscent of what you'd see in a quilt or a gambeson. To add a little bit more detail to this, I busted out a cedar stamp, which is just a tiny circle with little rays coming from the middle. I used this to stamp everywhere my lines intersected. Now to make everything pop, I busted out ye olde beveler stamp and just went around all of the edges of the piece, as well as every line in my diamond patterns here. By hitting both sides of those lines, I'm able to give each one of those diamonds a lot more depth and make it stand out really well. Happy with the way that looked, I decided to dye the border a dark brown and then hit that inside with a light brown for contrast. Next, I went over the top with a resist, followed by a dark brown antique gel. This is not only going to give that color a lot more depth, but also really show off all my tooling as well. And look at how gorgeous those came out! I really love that quilted look, and the antique gel mellowed out that color and brought everything together really nicely. Over the moon with that, I went back and slicked all of my edges just to keep it all nice and professional looking. And while I was taking care of the body of the bracers, I also cut and stained some of these 1-inch straps that I can use to put everything together. I generally don't measure out my straps beforehand. I cut roughly a little bit more, like 10% more than I think I'll need, just so I can have them around, and then I cut them to size as I go. One of the things I decided to do with that leather that comes on the strap, obviously, was to actually reinforce one side of that chrome tan leather. See, I want that underlayer to be able to stay together while that upper layer opens up to expose the tools, right? So to do that, I wanted to add some eyelets to the chrome tan. The problem is chrome tan's really stretchy, so if you just add eyelets directly to it, it's gonna stretch out over time and the eyelets are gonna pop out and it's just not gonna fit right. So to get around that, I just cut some of that strap so that it mirrored the shape on one edge of that chrome tan bracer. Then I used more of that Tanner's Bond tape to stick it into place on the underside of the leather. Then back to my sewing machine again just to make it permanent. This gives me a really nice strong point that I can sink some grommets into without worrying about the leather stretching out or them falling out eventually. The rest of the straps I turned into these little belts that I could use to close the upper layer of the bracer. Now whenever you have like a little belt strap or something, the part that isn't locked into the keeper kind of just hangs out. So I want to make a little ring of leather that I can sit into just to keep everything clean. So I just cut these tiny pieces of leather and skived the very ends of them so that they would fit together. For some reason I wasn't able to catch it on camera, but when you skive something, it's just when you take like a sharp blade and you cut it from its regular thickness all the way down to almost nothing. That's all. I just applied some contact adhesive to those skived ends and then stuck them together to form this little ring here. A ring that I can then just slide onto my belt to act as a belt loop keeper so all that excess leather is under control. Now using my belt to keep the bracer rolled up into position, I used an awl to punch the holes where I thought the rivets would look good. Here's another funny FYI, the same way like rolling up the leather made the inside one a little bit longer. When you have straps like that on a bracer, especially if you're locking them into place with some rivets, you want to measure out where the rivets will go when it's actually rolled up. For exactly the same reason, right? That inner layer of leather moves a little bit less and that outer layer of leather has to, so it's gonna cover more distance. So when it's flat, it's gonna end up having this weird kind of wavy pattern, but that's all right because when you actually put it into the correct position, those disappear and it tightens to look correct. If I was to put those into place when everything was lying down flat, then when you actually closed it, that extra tension's gonna go somewhere. It's gonna make your leather ripple, or it's gonna fight against you, and it's just not a good look. But after locking these into place with my rapid rivets, look at how dope those bracers look. Like just as they are without any of the roguish things are badass. I am super proud of them. And again, this kind of quilted design is such an easy thing to do. Like it takes just a few minutes. You're just using the width of your ruler, but it looks so good. Look at that. Okay, now comes the magic. We're gonna take our two pieces and connect them together. Again, using that trusty Tanner's Bond tape. I love that stuff, by the way. Definitely pick some of that stuff up. I add it to the side that doesn't have any reinforcement. Then I carefully line that up with the edge of my upper so that it stays secure and into position. Next, I lift up my little straps here so that I can punch a hole through both pieces of leather. These holes allow me to add these secret little grommets that'll be covered up by the straps and help secure both of those pieces of leather together. These I simply lock into place with my recommended striker and anvil. Next, I fold up the other side of that bottom layer so that I can use those grommets to mark out exactly where they need to go on the other side. This way I can ensure that they're perfectly aligned. With these marked out, I punch my holes and then lock my grommets into place there as well. All right, so this is how it works. Using a piece of cordage that I tied to one of the grommets just under one of the straps, I then feed it through all the other grommets to make it easy to tighten my bracers with one hand, pulling it taut and then tying it off. Now I simply use the buckle straps to close the upper, completely hiding away all of my thievish tools. So now I can look completely discreet while on adventures, wearing my beautiful little bracers out in public. Oh dear, has the party encountered a lock? No worries. I simply unbuckle this upper layer to expose my lockpicks and make short work of the silly security measures the BBEG put in our way. Then tuck them away as if nothing ever happened. What's that you say now? We approach a blind corner and need to check for guards? No worries. I just flip open the other bracer to remove my little mirror on a pole. Then deftly check around the corner to make sure the coast is clear before moving on. Not only do these things work perfectly as intended, but after a whole bunch of stress testing, I can assure you that these things don't jingle at all and nothing falls out. All of my tools stay perfectly secure into place. So there you have it, my take on the D&D Thieves tools / epic rogue bracers. I love these things, these are so cool. And they're actually, I don't know if it's the other layer of leather that's underneath or what, they're like the most comfortable bracers I have. I love these things, they're so good. Let me know though down in the comments section if you would have approached this in a different way or if there's other things you'd add to your perfect rogue bracers. I really wanna know, leave me what you got. Also, if you like what you saw here today, why don't you give me some of that like it love, and don't forget to subscribe so you know when I release new content. In the meantime, though, keep leveling up, you. You made it to the end screen. YouTube loves when you do that. That's one great way to support us here on this channel. Another great way is by joining these people's noble ranks. Big love to all of my Patreon members without whom we couldn't run this show. You guys are absolutely amazing and keep us going. And a special big thanks to our latest high tier Patreon member, the Nerded Beard. Thank you so much. Awesome name too, the Nerded Beard rather than the Bearded Nerd. I like it. Again, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for helping support this channel. If any of you would like to support the channel likewise, why don't you join our Patreon? Link in the description below. Otherwise, another great way to support us is by clicking on one of these videos here that YouTube thinks you'd like. You go ahead and watch those. I definitely won't be breaking into your home to take your things. I lied. I will be breaking into their homes. Ah, so cool.